Hello and welcome to something that I have been so keenly looking forward to, playing through Railroad Tycoon 2. This is a game from my childhood that I loved so very much. Let's get to it. Classic campaign, normal difficulty.
Well, hello there. You're noticing the gents on the board. Well, go ahead, have a look. Iron men is what they call them. Some of them upright businessmen. Some as low down as a snake's belly. But you know, all of them were legends. Many a daydream I found myself wondering what it would be like to reign high on the rails of steel. You too, huh? Oh, why don't you give it a try? Take a gander at the first challenge, the Iron Seed. You might want to make some different choices from how the Iron Men got started. Choose an option from the bottom group, then get started. By the looks of you, this should be pretty entertaining. I think I'll stick around. Well, go on, get to it.
So, Railroad Tycoon 2 is a logistics management game. You build train lines, they deliver passengers and freight all around, and that generates you money. You use that money to build more train lines,
Hello?
etc.
You awake?
Ugh.
Go ahead and select a map to get started.
So this was built for a much slower computer, and it uses number of cycles of pause before you do anything to trigger him saying things. So let's get going. Anyway, the options here: start with more money, track is cheaper, or start with the better train sooner. We're going to go start with the better train sooner.
Well, here you are, on the threshold of greatness. With the sweat and labor of the first spikes you drive, you'll be launching your first trains, and at the same time, an era of revolutionary transport. Watch as a nation grows with the help of your iron horses. The people of that nation, if not the whole dang world, are watching and hoping, so don't mess up.
All right. And now we see this specific mission's goals. The Baltimore and Ohio was the first fully operational steam railroad in the US, built by a group of 7 Baltimore businessmen. It proved to be highly successful and set a path for others to follow. As chairman of the B&O, you must connect Baltimore to Washington and haul at least 4 loads between them by 1840. You can see the start date down here. Earn silver, also connect Harper's Ferry and haul at least 8. For gold, connect to Philly and haul 12. So first thing, this has got a speed system, not entirely unlike EU4. So I was somewhat familiar with that when I transitioned into that game. But anyway, we're going to pause because we don't want time to pass. And because we chose that option at the start, we get to start with the John Bull earlier than normal. What this information tells you here is how much the thing costs to buy, to run, as an estimate. That one is fixed. This one is an estimate, and it's based on how far the train actually goes. This is how quickly it speeds up, and this is how often it suffers from breakdowns and crashes. And this tells you the car speed. So when it's got nothing and it's hauling at flat ground, this is how steep the ground is, and this is how many carriages at this weight it has. And as you get heavier with more carriages, and as you ask it to go up a slope, the train gets slower. We start with, well, I could do that if I had a second station. Now, we look around at the map and you see things like houses. Houses generate passengers and mail. A group of enough houses in a range of a single station counts as a town or a city. Other than that, there are individual resource things like this farm produces grain, this sheep farm produces wool, this coal mine generates coal, and there are different resource patterns. So like you take grain goes to the bakery, converts grain to food, and then you deliver food to places like this station that, because it's a city, because there's enough people in range of the station, demands food, which you can see is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th thing. Food is demanded at a rate of 4. That number tells you how much above or below the going rate they're going to pay for the resource. For every number above 5 or below 5, they will pay an extra 10% or 10% less. So if it costs 5, they pay 100. If it's at 6, they pay 110%. If it's at 4, they only pay 90%. Although that number depends on your difficulty setting. Anyway, so to start with, we were told to connect Baltimore over here to Washington. So we'll go build a station. Now the stations have sizes. You can see this yellow outline. It indicates how many things the area that this station covers. So any building that's inside its area it will get access to, either by the things that it produces, so in case of houses, passengers and mail. In terms of houses as well, demand, as I said. If you have more than a certain number, it counts as a city, and if you have more than a certain a town, and then more than a certain number again, it counts as a city. But also the ones that convert resources to each other, like the bakery that we mentioned. Anyway, do we have any cattle farms nearby? There are some over there, but I don't have any intention of going over there. So we don't really need a bigger station then. This will get everything we would want except for that house just slightly to the right there. But in this campaign we're only allowed to connect to stuff we've already connected to, which I suppose is a bit of a way of preventing newbies from accidentally not going where they're supposed to. Now you can see when we build here, it tells you both how much it costs, and the numbers above the track here indicate the grade, so how steep the ground is. As we saw before, trains tend to go slower on higher grade track. So for example, going here versus here, not only has a cost difference, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, summarized, but it also has that grade difference, and therefore we're trying to get a path that has as low a grade as possible to minimize the slowdown of our trains. Now, I need to get across to Washington. We don't like that 2.8 that we saw there because of this hill, so we're going to try and follow the river a little bit more, I imagine. I don't want to hit that 1.7 up there, so we are going to follow. In fact, it might be an idea to, even come in one more. Oh, but you're out of money. Now, there's also an economy, another level of economy, the stock market in this game. So I am this person, and this is one of the companies available on the map, and I can buy and sell shares, but I only have enough money at the moment to, I don't have enough money to buy more shares, so we leave that alone. This is someone that you can hire, and he's actually one of the best people for most of the first century campaign, so we're going to leave him alone. We've got issue bonds, which is like the loan button in EU4, so we're going to do that. And that gives us more money to work with, which we use to do what I wanted to do before, which is build the train line out to Washington. And then we build another station, which I wanted to be there. Well, fine. Connect down, and then it will let us build that station. Thank you. Now, the station in and of itself isn't the end of affairs. There's newspapers like this, so when certain things happen, like we've just connected this, it says, "Citizens celebrate the connection of Baltimore to Washington. Crowds cheer as the first train line is built," etc. But there are also other things like, in some of the later maps, there are things like World War events that are happening, and that affects whether trains are allowed to pass through certain countries at certain times and so forth. Or there could be things like there's a famine in Ireland and food prices have gone up. Potato famine, that sort of stuff. Now, inside the station you can also build things. You need to build sanding and water towers because steam trains need water. There are also buildings that affect income. So saloon and restaurant are ones that affect how much money you get from passengers, and therefore we will be wanting to build those. We don't need water yet though, because trains start with water. So we build a passenger and saloon up there. We build a restaurant over here. And then we probably buy 2 trains. Now, here we go. So we can see, you can also adjust this number, because different types of passenger, different types of cargo, different types of truck that you're towing, different types of cars have different weights. So this lets you get a bit of an idea of what different car weights would affect, how different car weights would affect your train speed. For example, things like passengers, at least at this age, are very light, so you might set for like 15 or 20, we'll see the number in a moment, whereas heavier things like gravel is very, very weighty, and it's something like 60, would be so much slower for our train. Anyway, we care about 20, I think, for passengers at this age, and we see that the Jungle Bull has much, much higher speeds than the Rocket, which is why we picked it. So we go one of you. Now this is the map, and it shows you not only your train lines, it also shows you your stations, and what you do is you say connect 2 stations. Whichever one is the one that you want to start out, we will put at the top, although you could do it the other way around and use this thing to change it, but we're just going to ignore that advanced setting for the moment. So I want to start at Baltimore. Down here you see supply and demand. Demand has all those things that we saw if we were to right click here, reproduced, but it's here for convenience as well. So Baltimore can supply passenger, passenger, passenger mail, passenger, passenger, passenger mail. We want to go to Washington, which has more demand than Baltimore. Oh no, it has about the same. Well, it actually does have more because it demands more other goods. Yeah, Washington demands more other goods. Anyway, and at the other end we will hopefully do passenger, passenger mail, but we'll see once we get there. And whilst that train runs this way, we're also going to run the other way. Now trains can... 2 trains can run on a single line, but when they intersect, one will completely stop and the other one will sort of run over the top of it, and then once they're no longer overlapping, then the other one will start up again. So we'll grab a second one of you, and whereas the first one's starting at Baltimore, the second one can start at Washington. We've got passenger, passenger available. Boom, boom. And that will be about it. So we go ready, steady, cook, speed up. And you can zoom in, and you can also spin, so it's a pseudo 3D game in that it's technically each of these views is 2D, but because you've got multiple 2D views it's kind of 3D. And here we see our little train, and he's taking off, and he's got the cars, and you can see it here. Now what else have you got? You've got our speed limit thingy here, speedometer as such, and it tells you how fast your trains are going, as does the colour. The completedness of this bar is how far they are along their path as such. So for example, this one is heading towards Washington, and it's, I don't know, that fraction of that whole bar finished, whereas the other one is slightly less complete. We should see as a general, this one will start going quicker, yep, so it's green versus the other one's orange because it's carrying half as many cars, and therefore it should be able to go faster. There are things like bridges, so basic wooden bridges and steel bridges, which we won't have access to quite yet, but the crappier bridges, which cost less, mean that your train has to slow down while it goes over them. I should probably get rid of that bit of track. But I can't because the train counts as being on top of it. Because track costs maintenance, and we don't want to waste money maintaining track that we aren't actually using, which I suppose would be an excuse for getting rid of that. But I am going to want that track eventually when we have to head up towards Philadelphia over here. So we'll leave that for now. And now we'll get to see one of those things that I was mentioning about how the trains, when they intersect, they stop. We can turn on the grid, and the grid actually shows you the whole world. It is a square tile-based system. Beg pardon. I think the game would actually be slightly better with a hex-based system. If I was making my own version of the game, I would use hexes, because there's a bit of an exploit to do with that. If you've got one train track like this and a second train track like that, because they don't ever occur on the same square, they don't count as intersecting, as you can sort of clip them through each other. Anyway, let's turn off the grid because it makes the world ugly. And now I will explain one of the next features. So this tells you the priority of the train, and that will affect whether, well, basically which ones give way to each other. So at the moment, I don't want this one to be the high priority one because it's slower. I'd rather set the quicker train to be the high priority one because it will manage to get through the other train quicker than if we did it the other way around. So I'll put you to high priority and the other one to low. And this means that when they intersect, this one, the low priority one, will stop. The other one will go over the top of it. Yep, so it's activated stop mode, and it sort of goes half invisible. Semi-transparent, as the cross-hatched transparency effect from the day and age that this game was made. Like, that was amazing at the time. Look at it, it's gone transparent. And now that train goes across it. We'll even turn the game speed up a bit. It slows down around the corner a little bit, but it's less than this one would have been slowing down, would have been going anyway. And now that they no longer intersect, that train can start again. Now, one way you can get around that, which we'll show once one of these delivers gets to where it's supposed to be going, so that I have some more money. We see money here and we see time here. The board of directors. Yeah, I forgot to go do that. So that's one of the things of the this system. You can change how much dividend your stock is paying, like in the real world, and that affects things like how much the world values your stock, which will be more important for future games when we're trying to be a actual tycoon in the sense of more the normal tycoon game, although I've never played it, where you purchase businesses and stocks and make money to get more money than your competition. Playing the stock market. Now, what we'll see is that when he gets here, he will go to unloading mode. So first you get the money. Oh, as I was saying, the money is indicated by this. How many coins there are here. These are meant to be coins. I know they don't look very coin-like, but they look kind of coin-like for the day and age. So this one has more coins because it's got pause. I really wish there was a pop-up and pause system in here. And although there is a game speed system, there isn't a pop-up and pause. So now I see this. We got the money out of it. It says it's unloading. So we come in here, we look, and we say, oh, look. Now there's lots of mail and lots of passengers. You can right-click on here to see how much each is worth. But the thing to keep in mind is that although passengers here declare their base cargo value as being less than mail, you also get the extra bonuses from these buildings. Oh, well, we can't see them now, but if you remember that it said the saloon was like 5% and the station was, the small restaurant was 10% bonus, and those don't get counted in here, so it can be a bit deceptive. And now we'll introduce another one of the mechanics, which is days to... They call it here days to deliver, but what it actually means is days before you must pick it up, otherwise it disappears. So mail is sort of a high priority thing in the world, and if you don't pick up the mail quickly enough, it disappears and finds another way to the world. And actually there's no mail over here at the moment, so instead we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passengers available. So actually we'll have to wait till the Washington train gets here. Oh, you've moved 2 loads, good job, and it reminds you of what you have to do. Because we made money, it affects, well, it affects things like our stock price and whatnot, and we don't really care about that for this campaign. Yep. Only care about making money insofar as it gives us enough money to build our train track up to Philadelphia and down to Harper's Ferry. So we'll speed up again until this one gets down to Washington. Oh, no, I was about to make a mistake. So, in here you can also see some other things, how much sand it has. Sand affects how good, well, it affects your ability, the ability of your train to go up and down inclines. If your train runs out of sand, it's no longer going to be good at going up and down hills. Well, down hills doesn't matter so much, but up hills does. And this is your boiler. So how much water you... Well, it's not really a boiler. It's more your... what are they called? Trucks. How many water trucks? How much water's left in your total carrying of water? And this is getting low. And as I said, you need to let this refill. So before this train leaves here... Oh, this station already had one. Then we're okay. For that end. But for this end, I need to build water sanding. Boom. Very good. If your steam train runs out of water, it will absolutely grind to a halt, which it says here, this train's water level. If a steam train runs out of water, it slows to a crawl. To refill it, pass through, though not necessarily stop at, a station with a water tower. And it says the same for this one. And there's also oil. Oil is basically how often it's meant to be a maintenance, an indication of how often your thing has received maintenance. And the last thing is the throttle. You can go extra power for extra speed, but you'll notice that at the bottom of the screen here, the chance of yearly breakdown, which is affected by all sorts of things like the train's reliability, how much a heavier load it's carrying, whether it's going up or down hills, but also by this throttle level. So it can be worthwhile for a new train, and also the train's age. It can be worthwhile to increase this, although as a general rule I don't like increasing it by more than one. To get a bit of extra speed out of a new train while it's still extra reliable because of how new it is. Because the extra speed leads to extra quick delivery, which means you're doing more deliveries per unit time, which means you're getting more money per unit time, but also things like passengers and, well, everything, how to say this? When you're delivering a cargo, every single cargo gets less valuable the longer you take to deliver it, but they get less valuable at different rates. Mail goes bad, as such, really, really quick. whereas something like gravel or coal, you know, it doesn't really matter how long you take to deliver it, so it goes bad really, really slowly. Anyway, we wait for this one to get to Washington. Come on. And then go ding, 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 and make the beautiful, glorious train noise, which makes me happy. Yes, and then this gives us a summary of how much money each thing made. So you remember before it says its base cost was $6.50, but we actually made more than that. And if I click this once it gets over itself, come on, get over that. There we go. We'll see that it made more. So that is the base cost, and that's assuming that you travel something like 20 tiles, where each one, or 20 grid, 21 of these squares. But if you go further, you get more money, and therefore the game rewards you for making long distance things, assuming you're quick enough. Like, you might be better off making a shorter distance one if you can do it quicker than a long one at a really slow speed. But anyway, Washington, no. So all that mail, we took too long. So you remember there was mail here before that I was looking at picking up, but we took too long to get there and it's rotted away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's got enough, so we can go full to the max. And now that I have more money, we can do the second thing that we're meant to do, which is go down and connect to Harper's Ferry, which lets us show you... Oh no, it doesn't let us show you the different kinds of bridges because we don't have access to anything other than the basic wooden bridge yet. Fair enough. So we build down towards Harper's Ferry, and boom. And then we should get a thing about connecting to Harper's Ferry. We also need to connect up towards Philly. So something like... No, we don't have quite enough money, so we'll wait for one more delivery set. But because you're taking off with a whole bunch of passengers, we might as well build a hotel, which increases how much money passengers make for you, and game speed up until they get across. Well done, you've done the absolute minimum. Next, connect to Harper's Ferry and haul even more cargo. This one is still quicker than the other one. Oh, but what I could have showed you is the double track thing. So, one way you can get around the trains over intersecting like that is to go from single track to double track. And that makes it realize that I've connected to Harper's Ferry. Basically, the check only gets performed every time you do a new build action. Or at the end of the year, I think, also. I'm not ultra sure on that one. So by double tracking that up, now one train can go on one side and one train can go on the other. So, whereas before we saw that, game speed up, they were intersecting and stopping, now they each hop on their relative side of the road, train tracks, and they don't have to stop to get past each other. This does have the downside of you need to pay more money to both lay the track and maintain it, but as a general rule, you can have a good idea of whether it's worthwhile to do based on how many deliveries. Oh, there we go. We've had a train crash. You've had a train wreck. Would you like to build one that replaces it? Yes, but you're out of money. So we'll double click on him just so that the game remembers that specific train. A bit of bad luck on our part. That was still. The other thing you can have is a breakdown where it doesn't kill the train entirely like that. The train just stops for a while, and then after something like 6 months or so, maybe 3 months, it will start running again. So crashes are a lot worse than breakdowns. They are unhappy that we made no profit, but next year, because we start the year with a delivery of money, they'll be very happy. Now, I shouldn't have opened you because I wanted to recreate the other, but it doesn't really matter. So you're at Baltimore. We want to then therefore create one that starts at Washington. Mail, passenger. Why? Because we've been delivering lots of passengers to back and forth, so the passenger demand has gone down. Basically, the more of something you supply, the more demand for that respective good will go down, and then the less money you'll get for delivering it in the future. It does go back up slowly over time, depending on, well, basically how many things there are that demand it. So if there were more houses here, then the demand rate would go back up for passengers quicker. Anyway, you're doing the right thing, although we want you to not forget to pick things up at the other end. And we are good again, and we probably have enough money to connect up to Philadelphia. So we... No, do not build Do not build an extremely large and expensive bridge over the ocean. No, we're still slightly too poor, so we're going to need to wait for one more delivery, so game speed up. Go watch our trains. Well done. You've secured a silver victory. Oh, I should have micromanaged that more. So this is grayed out, which says your train tried to pick up something that you'd asked it to, but there was none of it there. And what you can do is you can use this control, this traffic light, to control whether it waits for it. If you set it to red, it will wait for absolutely everything to be full before it leaves. If you set it to yellow, it waits for at least half. And if you set it to green, it picks up whatever it can when it gets there and says, stuff the rest, I'm leaving right now. The other thing that you can control in here is this, which is what to do with things that aren't demanded. So say I had another little station partway along here that yoink can produce wool and demands grain but doesn't want passengers. I could have this train, or actually I'd prefer to do it with this one, although it's already full. Actually no, it's not full, it's only got 5, so we can do this. Let's show you. I'll stop at Relay Junction, making sure to tell it to go to the next station rather than go back where it came from. And what we'll do is... Oh no, there is a 6. I missed out on the... For some reason I didn't count the mail. What we could do is stop here, pick up some of that wool, and then deliver it to the city. Not that either of these cities want wool, but it would prove the point. So we'll get rid of it and go back to what we're doing. But what you can do is use these to control what they pick up and drop down. So the default setting is fine for something like that, where because there's no passenger demand at this stop, if we asked it to stop here and pretend that we had one less, and that when we picked up wool, it wouldn't sell any of these and and it wouldn't try to look for passengers at this station. It would realize that you've already got the passengers. All we want you to do is add the extra wool to the end and then keep going. Then there's the sell only things that this station wants and store other things. So what you could do is pick up wool, store it here, and then carry it further on using a different train later. And we're going to be making extensive use of this because it lets you bank up resources effectively. And the other setting is, what's the other one? Yellow. Sell only demanded cargo, leave demanded cargoes on the train to be sold off later. I don't really ever use that rather than green. But I suppose you could have a case where this station demands something. Sell only demanded cargoes, leave undemanded cargoes on the train. How's that different to green? Sell if undemanded on this route, we can otherwise sell them too. Oh, so that one gets rid of things that aren't demanded later. That you shouldn't really need that because you should be planning good routes. Make sure you are going to Baltimore. Yes, you are, and we can go back. The music was actually quite good for its day. The only thing I'll say is that in this day and age, there is perhaps not enough different tracks. Like there's maybe a dozen different tracks, and it gets a bit repetitive. Baltimore and Ohio has split 2 for 1. I suppose I can explain that a little bit. So there's a number of shares. So this is how many shares make up the whole company. So at the moment there's 4,000 as a whole. I own 4,000. And what that doubling means is we went from 2,000 total to 20,000 total to 40,000. And why does the game do that? Well, the game doesn't want the share value to go to a really big number. It doesn't want the price per individual share to be more than about 100. Once you hit something around 100, it will usually double the number of shares but halve their value to try and enforce that. And now you can see what happens. I buy some more shares, so we go up to 5,000, but my cash available went down. Boop. And so the aim for that is generally to be running a successful enough business. 3 empty ones. We'll tell it to get rid of those and instead load 2 bits of mail. And we'll then do that. Is to be running a successful, or a business that is more successful than your opponents at pulling in money, such that the value of your company goes up quicker than the value of any opponent's companies. Although there are no other opponents or companies in this specific campaign. scenario. We've got enough money now to afford building up to Philly, and that should then, at the end of the next year, declare us the winner. Boop. Boop. And we'll build one more bit of track so that it realizes Baltimore and Ohio reaches Philly. And then we will wait for the end of the year, and I think it should realize that we win. Because I realize, oh no, it realizes straight away. Marvellous job, your victory will set the stage for all who follow. The board of directors has awarded you a gold medal in recognition of your feat, and it tells you how the autosave system works. Your game has been saved as after campaign number 01, because this is the first map. And then we get to hear him congratulating us back on the level select screen. I don't want to keep playing.
Oh, not bad for a beginner. You've started a trend there. Now look at them all scrambling to jump on board.
All right. And with that, we will call it an end to this first episode. Next episode, we will just make a start on Handle of the Breadbasket. Peace.